ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Stage Door. I'm so glad to be back here speaking with you. It's been a while. We all went through Christmas and New Year's, and now we're back to talk about theater and all things that go on in front and behind the stage. My name is Erica Angus. I'm the Executive Director for Theatre Collingwood, and we are in 2021 and still surviving these crazy days. I would like to introduce the man behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz, Mr. Tyler Cleary, who keeps all things rocking and rolling during the show. Hi, Tyler.
Hello, Erica. Welcome to the future. It's 2021.
2020. Who would have thought? Seriously, who would have thought? That is a weird number. It's unbelievable.
I think it's really just 2020 part 2.
I know. You know what, Tyler? This is something I'm going to share with you and and everybody who's listening. This is very brave of me. 2021. I was born in 1961. I will be 60 this year.
Get out.
It's happening. Yes, it's happening.
You have big plans?
Well, you know, I'm so lucky, Tyler, because I still, I have wonderful, wonderful girlfriends who I actually went to high school with. Oh. And we're all turning 60. I have some very dear friends locally who are turning 60. My husband is turning 60. So needless to say, we thought we would do, you know, a trip or something exciting or whatever. But I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll celebrate somehow.
Well, you could split your time between the living room and the kitchen and, you know, maybe tour around the backyard. It's hard, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, I thought maybe we'd all park our cars like in Tim Hortons and we'd undo our windows and we'd all be like beside each other and enjoy a coffee with maybe Bailey's or something.
There you go.
Anyways, it's a big year. The other thing is, Tyler, I'm just opening up my phone here because I wrote something down on here. Tyler, it's February and the month of love.
It is. Oh my.
You are, wait, I thought I would be higher, but I do have my heart on. Tyler, you are my heart.
Oh, Erica.
Happy Valentine's. I know.
So sweet.
I have a joke for you. I have a couple of jokes for you.
My goodness. Okay.
Actually, one of our guests has a young son. Actually, both of them have sons, but I think Connor will like these. Okay, so wait a second. I have to put my Valentine's glasses on to read these. Okay.
I love it.
What do you write in a slug's Valentine Day card?
Oh my goodness. What, Erica? Tell me.
Be my Valen slime.
Oh.
You gotta love it. You gotta
That's
love it.
good.
Okay, I have another one for you. What did the stamp say to the envelope on Valentine's Day?
What?
I'm stuck on you.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, one last one. Why didn't the skeleton want to send any Valentine's Day cards?
You got me. What is it?
His heart wasn't in it.
Erica, I love these. You're bringing me right back to grade school, having the cards that we'd pass out. Oh my goodness.
You remember that? Oh my gosh. It set people up for disappointment though. We used to put like these little envelope things we'd make on our chairs and all your little friends would put the Valentines in. But what if you didn't get a lot of Valentines? That would be terrible. Anyways,
what do they do now? Is it the kids swipe right or is it swipe left? I don't know.
Maybe. I'm just glad I'm not at that age. I'm glad I'm going to be 60. I'm glad I'm going to be 60. So, Tyler, we have a wonderful, I shouldn't say sponsor for tonight. It is we're highlighting them, but you know, we like to highlight our corporate sponsors that help so many arts and culture organizations and certainly Theatre Collingwood. So tonight it is Jane and Lorraine, the amazing real estate duo from Royal LePage Locations North. So thank you so much to Jane and Lorraine, and they are two amazing women. Actually, Lorraine at one point was the chair of Theatre Collingwood long before I was here. But yeah, it was she was chair of our board, which is kind of neat. So we thank them very much. And I would also like to give you, or can I give you some Theatre Collingwood news?
Oh, absolutely.
I still don't have my jingle. I want a jingle.
Theater Collingwood news.
Thank you, Tyler. Okay, we've got lots going on at Theatre Collingwood, even though we're all stuck at home. But first of all, I have a great announcement. Cobb's Bread. Have you been there, Tyler?
I have had a sandwich that was brought to me that somebody had made with their bread.
With the bread.
Goodness.
Well, it is a little dangerous to go there. It's absolutely full of delicious treats. So Cobb's Bread has decided to do a wonderful fundraiser for us. I just, for Theatre Collingwood, I appreciate it so much. So we have what we're selling. We're selling Cobb's vouchers. And these vouchers are $20. And on the voucher is 6 different delicious Cobb's treats.
Ooh.
And what you do is when you go into Cobb's to do your shopping, you get 1 free treat for 6 visits, which is really amazing. It might be a loaf of sourdough bread, or maybe it's a super yummy croissant, special croissant, something like that. So it is a value of $30, and we're selling them for $20. And $17 from each voucher goes back to Theatre Collingwood to help us with our programming this year. So I thank Cobb's Bread and Andrea Sire from there so much. But people can get their Cobb's vouchers online through our website at theatrecollingwood.ca, or by calling the office at 705-445-2200. And Anne, our box office manager, says if you want to give some sweet buns to your sweetheart for Valentine's Day and you live locally, she is happy to deliver them to your house. So the vouchers, so if you want to purchase them before Valentine's Day. So that's Cobb's Bread.
Wow.
Yeah, exciting and super yummy. The other thing is we actually have a show coming up. I know that's hard to believe, but we every year for the past several years, we have had a comedy night with the amazing Elvira Kurt. And the theme of it was to really celebrate International Women's Day, which is in March. And we've done that at the Legion. It's been a great event, always sold out, and we all have a lot of fun. And Elvira's troupe is a troupe called Girls Night Out. So obviously we can't meet in person this year, so we've moved it online, and we are now calling it Girls Night In, which you can enjoy from the comfort of your couch. It will feature comedians Elvira Kurt and Janine Profeta. It's going to be a super fun night. Tickets are only $25. You can order them through Theatre Collingwood. And we also have a fun little collaboration with Gibson and Company. Gibson and Company, which many people know in Collingwood, a wonderful place to get your coffee or get your wine or your whiskeys or what have you, yummy food. They are preparing a special girls' night in charcuterie tray and drinks, and you can order them through Gibson and Company. So tickets are available, and we hope the ladies will come out just like we hope the ladies will stay in just like they came out last year. And another fun thing I think about this online event is that we're going to have a chat going on during the show. So you can type your comments, and, Elvira may ask you to come up with a theme, and then they'll do some improv around it. So it's going to be a super fun night. And you can share that night with your friends all over the world because it's online.
I love this.
Yeah, it's going to be super, super fun. Really fun. We're so happy about that. I also wanted to thank the Blue Mountain Village Association. They are such amazing people, and what they have done in the past is offer grants to various organizations, nonprofits in the community. They switched that around a little bit this year and made it that they were offering 15 $1,000 grants to help nonprofits pivot in this difficult time. This is the second time they've offered this. And I'm happy to say that Theatre Collingwood has just been awarded a $1,000 grant from them. That particular grant is going to help us with our Porchside Festival, which we're going to do in June. And we are also very happy that we're going to be featuring underrepresented artists throughout that festival. So we really appreciate that. The Blue Mountain Village Association has donated that money to us. So lots of exciting things, Tyler.
So many things. Honestly, when we chatted about this, I was so pumped, and I don't know where you find the time and energy to get ahead of the curve during the pandemic.
It's interesting because I speak to a lot of artists and a lot of creative people, and it's a difficult time because people are finding it difficult to create things during this time because the creative energy or creative juices are just not there. Yeah. When you're not feeling totally happy about the way of the world. But I have a fantastic team at Theatre Collingwood, and we all are there for each other. We've got each other's back. We've got a fantastic staff and a fantastic board. And that's where I get my energy from. And I think also just wanting to be able to get artists in front of people again, performing. And so I'm not giving up, Tyler. We're not giving up, right?
No, you're not giving up. You're actually getting ahead of all this and taking the, taking artists that aren't in the limelight and putting them on porches right there. I mean, I'm excited for this idea, just getting out and seeing music again.
Yeah, I am so excited about the Porchside Festival. Not only will we be highlighting, as I say, some of the artists that are underrepresented, unfortunately. And this year, we could get into that another time, but this past year has certainly been a year where we've had time to think about the fact that not everybody's represented on the stage. So I'm excited to be doing our part for that and to highlight some of these amazing porches around St. Georgian Bay. So it's going to be a fun event. That's in June, and at our next stage door, we'll talk about that for sure. For sure. So I told you about how I have
a wonderful
staff, wonderful team. I happen to have one of those wonderful people with me tonight to speak, and that is Valerie O'Brien. So hello, Valerie. Welcome to the stage door.
Hi, Erica. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to join you. This is really exciting.
During normal times, you and I, our offices are right beside each other. We're sort of yelling through the door to each other, or meeting at our coffee machine or what have you. And now we've changed that up a little bit, that we meet over Zoom. But we're so lucky to have you, and you bring to Theatre Collingwood such a great wealth of experience and knowledge. So we're going to share that with people tonight. And also great hair.
My hair has changed a little bit over the last 12 months, and we have been meeting this way pretty much that whole time, haven't we? I mean, we've crossed paths a little bit in the fall when we moved into our new office space.
Yes.
But
Valerie, I have to show you. This is for the next time we're in the office together. Well, first of all, it's kind of a Valentine's mask, but can you see? It's the theater masks.
Yay!
Right? Woo! That will be the next time. That's what I'll look like the next time we work together in person. So Valerie, can you share with us a little bit? Let's talk first of all about, you had a very interesting history in theater. You actually have worked with our next guest too in your past life. So can you speak to us a little bit about your theater life before you came to Theatre Collingwood?
Sure, I can. Well, I was with an organization called Drayton Entertainment, and they are based just north of Waterloo. Well, they were at the time, anyways, in a little crossroads community called Drayton. Really, one four-way stop in the town, but this town had an amazing municipal town hall. This building, this historic building, had a theater upstairs, an opera center. They had the jail in the basement. They had a library in the building. And the founder of Drayton Entertainment, Alex Mastakis, really started that theater company in that space. So way back in 2004, I had actually just finished my master's degree at Ryerson University. And I had decided that I wanted to get really involved in the arts. I've always been, an arts lover. And this job came up with Drayton Entertainment that I had never heard of before. And I thought, well, it's marketing and communications and all the things that I had studied and was interested in. And let me go and check out this little company. Well, I really didn't know much about them, and they were on this precipice of really growing into something quite amazing at that time. And so I drove out to this little tiny town, had my interview, got hired, moved out from Toronto to, well, I didn't go all the way to Drayton. I made it to Guelph, and then I started commuting from there. But I was with them for around 10 years in marketing and development. And it was a fantastic time because, as I say, the company was just starting to grow, and they operated, I think, 3 or 4 theaters at the time. Then we built the St. Jacob's Country Playhouse while I was there. Then we did a huge capital campaign, and we raised funds to renovate the Huron Country Playhouse in Grand Bend, and also to build a performing arts center in Cambridge. And that's now where the company has their head office. And I was part of the initial team that worked there. It was really, really exciting and had some wonderful productions that we did over those years.
It's really an amazing company. And, some of our people in South Georgian Bay may be even more familiar with King's Wharf Theatre over in Penetanguishene, because I know so many people in Collingwood and in Barrie, and they'll go over to Penetanguishene to King's Wharf, which is also part of Drayton. One thing that I've always been in awe of the whole company and how it works, but one thing that I particularly loved, a common issue that theater companies have is you bring in performers from out of town, and where do you put them? Mm-hmm. You billet them in people's homes and try to find accommodation. And if I'm not wrong, I believe that Drayton actually built a residence for the actors. And I thought, that is every theater company's dream, to have a residence to put the actors in. Yeah,
I mean, we really had the wish list laid out that we wanted when we built that theater down in Cambridge. And one of the components was to have dorms for actors to stay in, so that, because when they have a home somewhere, and when they're coming to do these short stints, whether it's a 4-week run or a 6-week run, they end up having to pay rent elsewhere, and it's very costly for them to go out to a different community and take a contract. So the Cambridge Theatre has dorms above the offices, and also in Grand Bend, because you'd be surprised how expensive it is to rent accommodation in a place like Grand Bend in the summer.
I bet a lot of these small communities, excuse me, it's a big deal. It's very expensive. rentals in Collingwood are very expensive. So yeah, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. So how did you end up in Collingwood?
Well, you mentioned King's Wharf, and actually, it was because of the time that I would spend when we had a production that we were running up at King's Wharf Theatre, that my route would take me via Collingwood, or we would have sponsors or patrons coming from the Collingwood area to King's Wharf that I started to get to know. And invariably, I just ended up spending a little bit of time here in Collingwood and fell in love with the place. Just thought it has it all here, aside from a theater yet. However,
Yet.
the locale is just so beautiful. The town is lovely. There's so much to do. So in 2008, my husband and I decided to set some roots in the community, and we bought a condo, and we started living here on the weekends and enjoying life, going back and forth. This was kind of our cottage place for a number of years. And then when was that? 2014. My son is 6 now. When he was born, I decided that I wanted to take some time off from working and be home with him during those early years. And it just all kind of fell into place and made sense that we would relocate ourselves and live permanently in Collingwood. And so we did that.
And we're so glad you did. And we're showing a photograph of Andrew and Connor, your little family out there golfing together. Collingwood's got it all. South Georgia Bay has it all.
It really does. Yeah.
So, well, you and I had an interesting experience in terms of how we got to meet each other. It's funny because now that I think of this group of people that are involved with this evening's show, boy, are we ever interconnected. So Colin Stewart was doing a show with us. Colin, of course, was C2 Productions. And at that time, he said to me, he came in, I don't know, one of the nights before the show, and he said, I just met up with a friend. I just saw a friend that I knew through Drayton Entertainment, this Valerie O'Brien. And I think, I'm kind of forgetting right now if he said, could we invite you to the show? I'm not sure. But anyways, he wanted me to meet this amazing woman that is now living in Collingwood, Valerie O'Brien. And so we had you come in, and of course, the minute I met you, I thought we have to have Valerie working for us. But our luck that you had been off with your son, and you had just got to the point where you were ready to go back to work.
It's true. Colin and I actually bumped into each other at the grocery store that weekend, and. Yeah. And so I recognized him, and I went up and I said, how are you doing? What are you doing here? And sure enough, of course, he was performing and had a show that was going to be on, and invited me to come and be an audience member that night. And I'll never forget it because it was a great show at our little Gaiety Theater downtown. Yeah. And I got to meet you and the rest of the folks involved with that production. And the timing, everything happens for a reason, as they say. Yeah. And it was the theater gods were looking over us. And yeah, it was perfect timing.
It was perfect timing. So now we have you at Theatre Collingwood. First, you came to Theatre Collingwood on the project to look at group sales. Of course, I've always felt that Drayton Entertainment wrote the book on how to do group sales. So you came in and did some research for us and helped to start developing that program, which was really and is really in a good situation now. Unfortunately, coach tours had to stop for a while, but they'll be back. I'm sure they'll be back. So that was great. And then when the pandemic hit, of course, you had a son that had to be at home and schooled at home. So you spent some time at home, and then eventually we got to have you back. And now you are the development manager for Theatre Collingwood. So maybe you could just explain a little bit about what that is.
Well, Erica, I'm just your right hand, are I not? I kind of do a little bit of everything, but really my focus is on fundraising. And for the last few months, it was putting together a plan that
and we see some photos of how well you do it too.
Those big checks. We need more of those big checks. Right?
That's right. That's right. But how lucky are we to have these amazing corporate partners like TD?
Absolutely. And so, yeah, my role is really to make those connections in the community with businesses and other organizations, philanthropic organizations. There's so many worthy and needy charities in this area, but it really amazes me how supportive the community is of all of them. And certainly the arts are up there and as important for perhaps different reasons than some of the other, health-oriented groups, but nonetheless, we're all part of the same community, and it's just building those partnerships that I'm trying to do, and moving forward with a plan that hopefully will work out and keep us here for. Well, the organization has been here for 37 years, so I hope I can contribute to us sticking around a while longer.
Well, you have already, and we'll continue for sure. I think that, it's funny when you said you're my right hand woman. I feel at Theatre Collingwood, I have you as my right hand. I have Anne as my left hand, and the Three Musketeers. Oh my gosh, look at that picture. So I included this photo because, and it kind of speaks to what you just said. You are the development manager, but we have a way of getting you to help us at Theatre Collingwood in so many ways. And during the pandemic, we decided that, to be fiscally prudent, we would move our office. And we moved to a space that was less expensive. And there's Valerie, with sleeves rolled up, moving furniture and things up to the office, to our second floor office now. And Anne, who's in the middle and is our box office manager, her and her mother painted all the walls of our office. And it just looks beautiful. It's so well done, and we're really enjoying the office space. And of course, that's Linda, our box office assistant there. But in theater, I think, wouldn't you agree that you never have just one part to your job description? We all do a lot of things. Well, Valerie, on behalf of Theatre Collingwood, I just want to say how thrilled we are to have you here. I'm excited about all the sponsors or potential sponsors and potential donors meeting you, because you're a great gal to hang out with and a great advocate of the arts. And I know people will enjoy speaking to you about that. So thank you so much for joining us here on the Stage Door tonight.
It's my pleasure. It's been so fun, Erica. I love this show. I think what you've done with it has just been fantastic. It's a great way to reconnect with all of those patrons and people that are at home and missing the theater. So
and
we
miss them too. So I'll see you tomorrow, probably on a Zoom.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, Valerie. Thank you so much. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Oh, Tyler, we're so lucky to have Valerie O'Brien as our development manager. And I should also say, if anyone's watching and you feel that you'd like to speak to Valerie or learn more about Theatre Collingwood or about how to support arts and culture in our community, Valerie can be reached at Theatre Collingwood. It would probably be the easiest way would be info@theatrecollingwood.ca, and we'll make sure she gets the message. So my next guest is, I don't even really know how to describe this man because he has so many talents. It's not even funny. So I'm feeling very, very, inferior at this moment. Dean Hollin is an actor, MC, director, host, singer, and soon to be podcast aficionado. Dean, welcome to the stage door.
How are you?
Very well, very
Good.
well. Great to see you. Great to see
you as
you.
well. And I got to tell you, your talk with Valerie just made my world that much smaller, because I think all those places that she was talking about. The first Drayton show I did took me up to Penetang, and I've lived in Drayton twice. I've lived in that dorm that she talked about in Cambridge, and so all of those places that she talked about, I've lived, and so. Yeah,
it's funny, Dean. As I was speaking, because I like to say that I'd like to say that I really thought this whole thing out. But the more I started to speak to Valerie, the more I thought how connected this whole group is tonight.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think Valerie and I just missed each other, because I'm pretty sure my first couple of shows that I did for Drayton ended in 2002. Then I came up here to Collingwood in 2003. And then I didn't go back until, I think it was 2015, because I was hired after all those years of being away to play Billy Flynn in Chicago. And so, yeah, and so, and then that same season I did The Music Man. So I was gone for, I was under contract for about 13 weeks that year. And so I think the 10 years that Valerie was there was the 10 years that I was not.
Well, I was thinking you were probably there when she was there. Okay, so you didn't actually get to meet there. But I'm sure you felt each other's influence. So Dean, you were actually born in Hamilton, right?
I was, yeah. I'm a centennial babe. I was born in Hamilton in 1967.
Oh my gosh, 1967. Even though I wasn't that old. I was 6 years old at that time, but I remember it so well. It was such a special year, and now I know it's the year you were born.
Yeah, and my birthday is actually World Theater Day. So,
oh my!
Yeah.
So you were destined.
Yeah, March 27th is World Theater Day and has been for decades, and so so that's the date that my birthday falls on. So, yeah, and
gosh.
I have a box of stuff I've been collecting since I was a kid, of Expo 67 stuff. So.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think it started because I always had a little license plate. You know, those little metallic license plates you'd have in your bedroom doors with your name on them. And my parents had picked it up in Montreal for Expo 67. And so it planted the seed. And
that's fantastic. So since I know that you've done so much at Drayton, can you tell us a little, I don't know, is there a Drayton story? Is there a favorite performance or a least favorite performance or something?
Listening to Valerie brought back a lot of memories, because I had a lot of magic moments there, I guess. Drayton was one of those companies you wanted to work for way back when. I went pro when I was about 25, so close to 30 years ago now, and Drayton was one of the people on the block that you kind of wanted to work with, and everybody wanted Alex Mastakis to like, you want him to like you, and I did a couple of auditions like people did, and I didn't get the job, and then actually that led me to working in Sterling, Ontario, because Caroline Smith had been his resident choreographer in the very early years. And so one day I got a call, and this would have been in 97, from my agent, who said, "Do you know who Caroline Smith is?" And I said, "I don't." Well, he says, "Well, she loves you. She has started a new theater in Sterling, Ontario, and she knows you from the Drayton auditions. And so she's called me up, and she's hiring you. She doesn't know for what yet, but she wants you in her company." And so I was in the very first show of her very first season, and I happened to be the very first person on stage for that very first show in Sterling back in 1997. And
that's so interesting. And I mean, there's many people in Collingwood who have a knowledge of Caroline also through Gaslight, because she helps with the play development.
Yeah, so
for Gaslight.
So Caroline and I worked together. Oh, wow, I was there 5 years straight. 5 years of summer, 5 years of pantos. Gail and I, my wife and I had just started dating like 2 months before that. So we ended up getting married up there. Gail worked in wardrobe up there as well, because that's her background. We met at Theatre Aquarius in Hamilton back in 97 when I was doing a show there. She worked up in wardrobe. I co-wrote for Caroline some of her pantos, And yeah, it was pretty magical up there. But it was because of her seeing me at Drayton auditions. And
That's amazing.
yeah, and then I eventually, then soon after that, I actually started getting jobs at Drayton. And the first show I think I did there was a Little Me, and I sort of was the second banana to Eddie Glenn, who's a very funny man. And so I was his second banana through that whole show. And Lisa Horner was in that, and Lisa's another one. People know her from the IKEA ad, "Start the car, start the car."
Yeah.
That's Lisa. That was before that ad, but
Right.
yeah. So Lisa and Eddie were the two leads, and like I said, I was sort of the second banana to Eddie, and that was at Drayton on a revolving stage. It was very neat show, and Alex directed that one. And then I was back, I guess, the following year, and I worked for two different directors. I worked in two shows in tandem, which actually overlapped by 2 weeks. I was in a four-person non-musical comedy called Weekend Comedy with and that was Di Nyland Proctor who directed that, who I grew up watching on The Trouble with Tracy. You know, so that was a
Oh.
big thrill for me to work with Di. Di's gone now, but that was a great thrill. And Frank McNulty, who was a fabulous Second City actor, who again unfortunately passed a few years ago, but
Yeah.
great cast of four. And then I was in the cast of Buddy, which Annie Allen directed, and so that
What a great
well, that show,
history.
it was neat. Yeah, that show started in Drayton and then transferred to Penetang. And then while we were in Penetang, while I was in shows for 2 weeks, I was also in those same 2 weeks in rehearsals for Buddy. And so the week after Weekend Comedy closed, within 3 days, I opened up a brand new show in Penetang. And then that transferred back to Drayton. So I kind of went back and forth that summer. And at the time, we were living in Hamilton.
That is always something, that I think intrigues people so much who are not actors or not going through that process. That idea of doing shows in rep, actually doing
Yeah.
two shows at the same time and being able to wrap your head around that whole
So-
concept.
So here's the biggest one I ever had as far as that happening. And that
Yes.
was when I was working on the show that I met my wife on in 97. And it was a double cast show. So we were doing Jacob Tutu Meets the Hooded Fang. And the same cast was also, after we opened that, we were in tandem learning a second show called Jekyll and Hyde, which was a musical, and it was all about, it was aimed towards youth, because it was about a young man who got into drugs, and it changed
Oh.
him, this Jekyll and Hyde idea, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, I was doing a three-hander in Toronto at the Helen Phelan Gardner Playhouse called The Voice of the Turtle, which is an old piece by Van Druten.
Yeah.
And everything, the stars aligned one day, where in one single day, I had a performance of Jacob Tutu, I had a dress rehearsal of Jekyll and Hyde, and then I took the bus to Toronto, and in the same evening, I did a performance of The Voice of the Turtle. I did
Oh.
all three of those full shows, two of them being musicals, in one single day. That's never happened again.
I can't
remember-
even imagine.
Yeah, I remember thinking to myself on the bus on the way home, I thought that I felt like I'd almost arrived in a way, because I thought, okay, I'd worked so hard all those years and I managed to do three completely different shows in one calendar day. So that picture that you've brought up is one of the shows that I did at Theatre Aquarius. It's
Dean,
a day.
that is a very young Dean Hollin.
Tell me about it. Well, and the neat thing, for better or for worse, in my career, I always played 10 years younger than I was.
Yeah.
So I would have been in my mid-20s there, and the character that I was playing was supposed to be about 17, and I was about 26 there.
Yeah.
And,
For all those people, those kids that feel, they look young and they don't like that they look young, it's a great
Well,
thing.
yeah, sometimes it worked to my advantage, and other times it didn't. Sometimes it was very frustrating. I remember in community theater being able to sing the role of Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls, but I didn't look old enough to do so, and so I'd lost a bunch of parts, and because I've always been a baritone to a baritone bass, most young male parts are tenors, and so it also was very frustrating for me as a young actor. Most baritone bass roles are written for older gentlemen.
So here's an interesting question for you, Dean. Do you think with our desire, or maybe a slight enlightenment, I don't know how enlightened we are, but I think the world wants to be more inclusive and wants to maybe, I mean, I know in the theater world throughout the years, it's been very tough on many actors, not necessarily fitting that exact look that maybe a director wanted or whatever. Do you see that changing? Do you see that maybe we can be a little more open-minded and use our imaginations a little more?
Yeah, I think it's already started. When you look at, I think a great example is Hamilton. When you look at a show like Hamilton, which clearly plays against type,
Yes.
and you know, and that is a part of the magic of that piece.
Yeah.
But you know, I was talking to Janie Cooper Wilson today, who
Yes.
will be one of my guests on my upcoming podcast, and so we were chatting today, and I was telling her about that. I said, you know, I felt for a while that I think, you know, my union being the Canadian Actors Equity Union and even ACTRA, but I think the CAEA, even you know, half a decade ago, was really putting out the word. They were really encouraging directors and companies to do more non-traditional casting. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
and you did start to see that a few years ago. I know when I was doing Chicago, um, I know that one of the Carousel was being done at Drayton, and they had done some quite non-traditional casting there. I think that the female lead was of African American descent, if I recall. You know, and so you know, they were not going
Yeah.
in the traditional route, and I think it does add some magic to it. So yeah.
Yeah, you know what I think about it is that historically, like let's think about Shakespeare
Yeah.
and the fact that women were not on the stage, so men were playing women, young
Yep.
boys were playing women. We, you know, obviously people were using their imagination and wrapping their head around it quite nicely. And of course, in Panto,
Yep. Yes.
you know,
I know that one.
There's certainly been, yes, I think we have a photograph.
I think you do.
of
Yes, one of the early.
in a little drag.
There you
costume.
are. Yes.
So
that's in Sterling.
right.
That's Neil Bartram I'm with. Neil Bartram on the left, who was one of the original Plaids in Toronto, one of the original Plaid guys, who's also a writer with his partner. And because my wife is a redhead, and that was that was the first time I ever played a dame, and we were the Ugly Stepsisters, and I requested that I be a redhead because my wife is a redhead, and so
because of your wife. Oh,
Yep.
that's terrific. So, I mean, my point is that we have used our imagination in the past, and I think we can use our imagination going forward. I really hope to see that happen more. You mentioned
agree with
about
you.
Jane. And her being your guest. I don't know if you got a chance. She was on Big Girl and Friends, the Facebook live show on Monday night. She was fantastic. But I did get an opportunity to see her in Piaf Dietrich in Toronto.
Okay.
And she was amazing.
Yeah.
She's just such an incredible performer.
Yeah.
Yeah, really incredible. So good for you. I look forward to hearing her on your podcast. So let's talk about the podcast.
So the podcast, I've actually got sort of two happening in the way right now because my radio show, which ran for a year on Jewel Radio, Radio Limelight, which is all things Great American Songbook, which really is one of my greatest passions in my life professionally.
Yes.
And that started about 25 years ago for me. I did the musical Anything Goes. It was the last musical I did in Hamilton before going pro. Yeah. And that company, I was so fortunate to work with them because they brought in Broadway directors to do all the shows for HTI. So that director was a Tony-nominated director by the name of Rudy Toronto, who I worked with a few times. The first time in 1988 being on the show Sugar Babies, and the magic of that was that Rudy had directed all of the comedy sketches, and that's where he got his Tony nomination for Sugar Babies. So he directed Ann Miller and Mickey Rooney.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's the type of people that I got to work with during my training years at HTI. And so anyway, during that time, I fell in love with Cole Porter. I was gobsmacked by these lyrics and this music that I thought was so wonderful. And then, in my 25-year-old tenacity, was really quite startled to see that this gentleman had been born in 1891, and had died a few years before I was born in 1964. And I thought, well, how can this old guy who was born in the 1800s have written such, what I thought was really kind of hit music, it was just so clever.
Yeah.
And that it was really what started my love affair with the Great American Songbook. So jump ahead all these years, and I was a young man from grade 5 and into grade 10 who wanted desperately to be in radio.
Yeah.
And then I got on the stage in grade 10 and I changed direction. And now I feel like my two worlds have come crashing together.
Yeah.
And so I sort of wanted to do this for a long time. And then, got the show on the air for Jewel. But then along the way, decided that I thought I might switch to a podcast because I'm still, being the age that I am, it was all about radio. And of course, I got 4 kids and I'm watching them and what they're listening to. And sometimes I feel like I have to catch up a little bit. And I thought,
Yes.
maybe I should do this as a podcast. And so, I had to call, SOCAN, and I had to see about licensing and all these things. But so now that one is about to launch, as well as it will be on, it's also got a radio station in Halliburton that's going to be carrying it as well, starting on March the 1st. And so
Wonderful.
that's the one project. But then along the way, Susan Cook from the BMFA, she had said months ago, she started talking about this little thing that she maybe was going to do and that I should consider hosting it. So it got my wheels turning. It planted a seed. And I just started to think about doing a podcast that deals with all of the exceptional things that we have in South Georgian Bay. And so that's also going to be launching in about the same time, about the next 2 weeks.
And that is called?
It's called This Here Wow, because we have so many wows in South Georgian Bay. People, places, things, natural things, made things. We have so many over-the-top things here in South Georgian Bay. We're truly blessed. And so, I've been reaching out to people because of the era that we're in. I've been doing it via Zoom platform, and and talking to people that way, and putting this podcast together. So it's going to air weekly, and it will be available through all your regular podcast providers. And each week I'll have a handful of guests, and
That's fantastic, Dean. I think it's terrific. And, you're one of those people that when I think of you, I think about the fact that, the very cruel expression of the past that he has a face for radio.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have that fantastic radio voice, but you've got that also fantastic face for.
Well, you are just too
stage
kind. I'm going to
or
come on this
street.
show as much as I can.
So you got it all. Now, I know that we showed a picture earlier, and I just want to touch on it from Billy Bishop Goes to War.
Yeah.
And if you can talk about that project, and
Sure.
and actually, when I was thinking about this with you being here, I thought, gosh, Dean, when things get up and rolling again, we got to talk about doing Billy Bishop again.
Wow. That's I've done a couple of shows like that are two-handers. That was when I was running the Gaiety. Of course, that's what I came here to do in 2003 when it was converted to a live facility, and I ran that. And again, we have to do things because of economics. And one of the things that I committed to do, partly because of economics, but partly because I love being on stage, is that every season I would do one of the 5 offerings.
Sure.
And so for that season, which I think might have been my second season, so it would have been around 2004, possibly 2005, I decided I was going to do Billy Bishop Goes to War. So one man playing, I think, 14 different characters. It's a musical. That's Michael Mulrooney there, who ironically is another, he's been living in Hamilton for a great number of years. I was very, very lucky to land that man. One of Michael's really great credits, if you have the Canadian recording of Showboat at home, he is the pianist on that recording. So yeah, he's a great piano player. But he had done Billy Bishop many times before. So here's this, we roll out not the grand piano, but we roll out the more period upright brown,
Yeah.
And he knows the show so well that he doesn't have a book in front of him the entire show.
It's actually an extremely, even though there's not a lot of set and everything, the role of Billy Bishop that you played is an extremely difficult role. So kudos to you for doing it.
Yeah, it's tricky. I love it. And I did it again a few years later. We kind of remounted it, and I did it in Hamilton. I did it in a couple of different theaters in the province. They brought it in. And, because it's a pretty small, it can be very, very intimate. You can make it big.
Yeah.
But you can keep it really small. And, that was probably one of the most terrifying opening nights of my life, honestly. It was probably the one that I came the closest to psyching myself out.
Oh, really?
Because I remember, it was the theater that I was running.
Yeah.
And here I got this whole 2 hours ahead of me.
And 2 hours of, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's 2 hours of dialogue.
Dialogue and song.
That one person.
Yeah, I think Michael sings a little bit of harmony, his character, the piano player, and puts in a couple of lines here and there. But so I remember that the lights went down, and I heard the announcement, and I for that moment I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? What did I think? What am I thinking I'm doing here? Well, how stupid of me to do this! I am not going to remember any of my lines, And then I thought, no. Just Dean, take your own advice. I always tell kids when they're worried about lines, I say, think of lines as setting up a room full of dominoes. Each line is one domino. Don't worry about all the dominoes. If you set them up right, just tip the first one, because each line cues the next line, right? In your brain, each line cues the next. Same as when you're working with other actors. You have lines that are what they call cue lines, right?
Yeah.
So I said, look, just push the first domino, Dean. And I went out there, and I remember, I think I was so nervous, I even dropped a line within the first minute. And I kind of looked at Michael, and he looked at me, he says, I don't know. And then it came back, and of course, and then once the audience started laughing, of course, you can just feel your spirits lift, and then you're riding the wave, And then and I was going to just say, and then after you've finished something like that is so epic, the elation when you are finished that last bit and the audience claps almost is enough to make you cry. It's just so, you feel like, I did it. Yeah.
Well, and in you saying that, what it makes me think about is this time that we're in right now, for performers, even, many have pivoted to online performances.
Yeah.
But that lack of communication with your audience is extremely difficult. And it's something we talk about to our adult audiences, but I certainly have talked to children in audiences about that energy that comes from the audience, that the actor is absorbing and then generating more energy from. And how that's the very reason why every performance is different, because every energy is different.
And it is tough when you don't have it.
When you're online and you don't have that, it's tough.
It is tough. I was asked by a Probus Club back in November to do some entertainment for their Christmas Zoom meeting, one of the Probus Clubs in town here. And I hesitated, and I I can do that. And they said, about 30 minutes. So I thought, okay. And it was very tough, because you do feed off that electricity, that, that vibe, and that the laughter and the tittering and the breaths and the whatever it's happening, you feed off that. And it's an adrenaline rush, and it fuels you, right?
Yeah.
And so it was tough, because, I couldn't hear any of them in that Zoom meeting. I'm in my office here, and they have a PowerPoint that they're controlling. And it was tough, because you can't hear anything.
It's tough. And actually we can give, this is my little tidbit of information to people in Zoom meetings. If you have the option of turning your video on or off, when you're in Zoom meetings and people will turn their videos off because they don't want anyone to see them eating their breakfast or whatever during the meeting. But turn your videos on, because whoever's speaking needs to see some faces and feel
I'd rather see them eating.
Exactly.
Than just with a name across there.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I really
Exactly. Well, Dean, I think we probably need about 2 hours to talk to you about everything. So you're going to have to come back and talk to me another night.
would.
But
Okay.
we have a very special surprise for everyone, and that's that you're going to sing for us.
You got it.
Yeah. So
Good. I'm gonna.
whenever you
Yeah.
are ready, you can take it away.
Okay. And well, of course, one of the things that has been really tough for a guy like me during this is that I rely on great piano players, guys like Greg Gibson, who I think,
Yes.
did you have him on last week?
Another local boy.
Yeah, and
Another
just like,
local boy.
and he's great, and I've gigged with Greg only a couple of times because he's usually away on cruise ships around the world, doing his thing, and he's so talented,
Yes.
But so I have to do my little bits, on my own a cappella, and so, but I chose a song that was written in 1963. This record collection that is behind me is part of a collection that's been going for 20 odd years. It's based on the Great American Songbook. Um, Ironically, this is not technically a Great American Songbook song, but one that I love dearly. I remember watching the Andy Williams show
Yes.
when I was very young, and my parents sat me there, and this is a song that he took to the charts. He did very well with it in about 1966, so just before I was born. And I thought it would be a nice send-off song, and it's one that I would quite often use at the end of concerts, and it's certainly one that Andy you regularly used at the end of his shows, and it's one that I believe was sung at his memorial as well. So,
Oh,
okay.
how lovely.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's
Well, we'll
called-
enjoy it
okay.
and you enjoy.
And this is called May Each Day. May each day in the week be a good day. May the Lord always watch over you. And may all of your hopes turn to wishes. And may all of your wishes come true. May each day in the month be a good day. May you make friends with each one you meet. And may all of your daydreams be memories. And may all of your memories be sweet. The weeks turn to months, and the months into years. There'll be sadness and joy, there'll be laughter and tears. But one thing I pray to heaven above, may each of your days be a day full of love. May each day in the year be a good day. May each dawn find you happy and gay. And may all of your days be as lovely as the one you shared with me today. May each day in your life be a good day, and good night.
Oh, thank you so much, Dean. What
My
a
pleasure.
beautiful Valentine's send-off for this show. Thank you. You are so talented.
Well,
and
thank you for
it's-
having me,
it's
and
been
happy
a privilege.
Valentine's to everybody out there and to you.
Thank you so much, Dean. And I'm sure I will see you very soon because you and I do a coffee chat every Monday morning.
We do every Monday morning, which people can certainly come and join us. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah,
Great.
great. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
Happy Valentine's Day.
You as well. Stay well.
Thank you. Well, Tyler, we have come to the end of another Stage Door show. What a great night.
Oh my goodness. You know what it is that I absolutely love about this is that even when you think you know somebody, there's just so much more.
You are so right. You are so right. And I've been very lucky to meet many, many people in the arts, and many of them, people like Dean, who I think I know so well, and lo and behold, I only know a fraction. So you are absolutely right. Tyler, we're going to do this all again uh, in March, on March the 3rd. Wednesday, March the 3rd. So we hope everyone will join us. Thank you so much again to Jane and Lorraine and Royal LePage Locations North. And Tyler, thank you so much to you for all your work. It's always a joy to spend this time with you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Same to you, my dear.
Ciao.